Leaders Lead podcast. I'm super excited with this podcast. What we're doing is we're sitting down and we're talking. Ooh, that was rough. Let's try it again. Hey, what's going on? This is Tony Taylor. Welcome to Leaders Lead podcast. I'm super excited with this podcast. What we're doing is we're sitting down and we're talking to some amazing leaders across the country. We're learning cool things about them. We're learning where did they get their leadership style from? How did they adapt that leadership style? What are they changing? What are some things that they need to work on? I want you to tune in to listen to Leaders Lead podcast. Every single week, we're going to have new content for you. We're streaming on all the major platforms, so look out for Leaders Lead podcast. Hey, what's going on? Hey. Welcome back, everybody, to Leaders Lead the podcast. Today is a good day. Today, we are on our fifth episode. And you know what they say, once you hit episode number 5, that's when you can start calling and bringing on the big dogs. I mean, the big dogs. And we got a big dog for you here today. My man, Haram. How's it going?
Hey, Tony, it's great. Look, I've been waiting for a couple of years to have this guy up here. And this guy, I met him about 3 years ago when he first started I think 3 years ago, close to 3 years ago, he started this warrior mindset, and I reached out to him. Didn't know he was a law enforcement officer in detail, but the one and only CEO and the founder of Man of War, Rafa Conde. Rafa, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man, it is an honor to be here. All right. You two gentlemen right now are kicking ass. I'm so proud of you guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Can I, I'm gonna play a video really quick, just because words ain't gonna do no good. I'm gonna show you guys a video of the man.
Sure.
Step up and calibrate that and become a warrior.
It's going to strike you right in the heart.
Move forward strategically and tactically.
In mind, in body, and spirit.
The Spartans, the samurai, the Knights Templar.
Talk about a modern day warrior. We're talking about a man that lives with an exemplary code of conduct. Bottom line is that we forge men into modern day warriors.
What can I tell you, man?
That was freaking legendary.
It's more or less. When I watch that video, I'm like jealous, and I get intimidated by this thing. So it's like, how do you introduce somebody that's been pretty much doing this for quite a long time? And I can honestly tell you, as we're speaking, that for you, Rafa, you've been able to have some significant impact with people that have been able to come onto into your environment. And as I'm looking for your stuff here, I changed it. So therefore, here, I'm going to explain it real quick off the fly. So Rafa Conde is a martial artist, has been with the law enforcement department for over 25 years, or for over 10 years. He's been an expert in close quarters combatives. He's been able to teach law enforcement academies for quite some time in his local law enforcement department. He is located in South Florida, and the gentleman has been able to create and invoke a culture that is beyond the words of everyone else that can actually speak. Rafa has been able to take and mold average CEOs and average middle-aged men to find alpha dogs that can actually say and whisper that they were very humbled by their experience, by the training and mentorship by Rafa Conde. So without any further ado, I want to welcome the one and only Rafa Conde, the CEO and founder of Man and War. So welcome, Rafa. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. Well, this journey has been a very exciting, very interesting journey for me. I mean, my life has been a roller coaster, and I have seen things, experienced things, and more importantly, I've shared so many things with so many men out there that I can sit down today and feel very confident that what we're teaching here at the Man of War works. We've changed lives. We've transformed lives. We have saved relationships, and really in our society now, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the lack of that warrior spirit is missing. My mission is to bring it back. My mission is to bring that warrior spirit back into a man's world, to bring the discipline, the internal fortitude, the drive, the fire in the gut. That's what we're about here, and it's unfortunate that our society has gone this route. However, I really believe in my heart, in my spirit, in my soul, that given the right guidance, men can fall back and get back on track.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I wanted to ask you a question to kick this off. Aside from what you do, who is Rafa Conde? I
am a giver, a man who is constantly giving. My entire life is based on giving. From the moment I wake up, giving grace, to the moment I put my head on my pillow. I believe that every day I wake up with this urge to help, to give of myself. And with that comes a very serene power. And that power is confidence. And that power is tranquility and clarity of mind, which is, I believe, lacking in our society also. That's another subject altogether. So to break it down, I am a giver. I am a very humble individual. Some people don't believe that. They don't think that because of the way that I speak, the dynamics of maybe the way that I articulate myself or I carry myself. But make no mistake about it, I am a constant disciple, learning every single day from everyone. So in the end, I could tell you in 2 words, I'm a giver.
So Rafa, I have a question for you. I did some some detailed information about you, and you were really a white collar guy, a broker, and you just decided to do a pivot and paradigm shift. And you even stated that it wasn't about the money. It was about a purpose. You did a total shift and became who you are. Can you unpack that and explain that to the people, that what you actually did and where you at today, please?
Yeah, well, that's, I was a Wall Street broker for about 14 years. Started very young. I walked into an office and I saw guys driving Ferraris, Lamborghinis. They pitched me the world. They said, listen, you come in here, you'll make your first $1 million in, a year. This was the, the Wolf of Wall Street days. Mm-hmm. And,
that's my favorite movie.
It's squared away movie for sure. And so I sat there and I'm like, man, you know what? Shit, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a shot. So I started in a boiler room, basically standing up, pitching. If you were to sit down on a chair, you would get it kicked out from under you. And they would say, hey, man, you need to pitch, all day long, all night long, and you cannot sit down. That was just the methodology and the way that, boiler rooms were carried then. And so regardless, became a broker, was very successful, worked for 2 firms and then went independent. Started my own independent firm, managed over $500 million, was doing some great things, making, deep six figures, loving life, beautiful wife, family. And something hit me. The market crashed, and I started reflecting on my life. And I had been training martial arts for so many years, all of my life. So I lived by a very code of ethics, a very strong code of honor. And I sat down in front of my wife and I said, listen, I need to give back to my community. I want to do something that will impact our community. I don't just want to sit here and deal with people's money. It's just, I don't think that realistically, and the way that the industry had gone, I don't think that that's a right thing for me to do. I wasn't feeling it. My wife looked at me and she said, you know what, whatever, I'm with you. I support you 100%. So having a strong woman by your side like that, holy shit, man, that is very powerful. With that said, she looked at me, she nodded, and there I went on my journey to try to be a police officer. My dream, believe it or not, before I even became a broker, was to be a narcotics agent, an undercover agent. Well, needless to say, I was hired by one of the most violent cities in the country. And from there, I kicked ass for the first couple of years. And then I was transferred over to a VICE unit, task forces. I worked with a DEA Task Force agent. I was also part of the government initiated, at that time, President Obama had initiated a task force for pill mills. People were dying for pills. I worked on major undercover cases. Especially I was undercover in the VA Medical Center. I worked that for an entire year, and you can look it up on YouTube, Operation Tango Vax. And we arrested 20-something, it sucked, but 20-something veterans, and seized, $500,000 and over 5,000 pills. And it was a very successful operation. So most of my career I did in SWAT, narcotics. I became a hostage negotiator. But my claim to fame, what really, even to this day, it's been very powerful for me, is, I taught in the police academy for over a decade, about 12 years, high liability, defensive tactics, and firearms. That's when the Man of War started, because I started seeing that these young recruits that were coming through, that warrior spirit was not there. It just wasn't there. And I was getting these young recruits, and a lot of them were military guys. They had done 4 years and they were coming, and I was getting them prepared for the street. And I'm like, man, how did you serve our country with this type of, there's a lack of spirit here. And well, that's when I started my podcast. That took off. And then Man of War came very soon right after that.
Oh, wow. So the podcast was, sorry, go ahead, brother.
So Rafa, I gotta give kudos to your wife, man, because I met her over the phone, and she's just as tough as nails. I mean, it takes a strong woman to be in that type of environment to back you up. I've seen your kids. I've met your son as well, Alex, the older one. So I gotta give it to you as far as the kudos is concerned, because the people don't realize when you have an understanding and an ultimate unconditional love of support from a family, there's no barriers. You can break that, you can reinvent yourself, and people are going to look at not only yourself, but the family behind the scenes, the people in the background. That's who the true heroes are. And people really don't understand that. Wouldn't you agree?
Hiram, you are spot on, brother. You are spot on, because working in a city, such a violent city, and the things that I have seen, we could sit here and have 10 episodes. Okay. Believe me when I tell you, not every police officer sees the things that I've seen because of where I work, the violence and the area. But I could go back and I could remember my wife when I worked on midnight when I first came on, and I was a rookie, and working from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. overnight, and it was tough for her. We have so many sleepless nights, and she was a champ, man. She never complained one time. But now I go back and I speak to her, and she's like, man, those restless nights, I didn't sleep all night. I was worried about you. We would get, she would call me 2-3 o'clock in the morning just to make sure that I was okay. And, as I write my book, I've been writing for a year and a half, and it's funny because today I was typing an entire story of what happened to me in one of the situations. But quickly, bottom line is that at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, chasing guys with guns, drug dealers and things like that. And for her to know that and know the amount of arrests that I made, every tour of duty, she was very nervous, and it definitely at some point started to take a toll on her.
Wow. That's I'm glad you brought that up. I served as a firefighter as well, and we're kind of brothers. We kind of go back and forth about who's the best, right? Yeah, firefighters or cops,
of course.
But one thing that we have in common is as firefighters, when we're on those highways or on those murder scenes and stuff like that, we're there together.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and there's a commonality is our spouses, right? Our spouses, which truly are the backbone. I remember, calling my wife and just saying, "Hey, I'm okay." Just let you know, "Hey, I'm okay. I'm okay." How important is that? Checking in, you and your wife checking in as far as working on those scenes, and even right now, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, man. That's, she knows that during, when I'm on duty and when, situation gets hot, I can be gone for 12, 13, 14. I've been on the task force. I was, I would disappear for 18, 19 hours when I was involved in an operation takedown. And it was just difficult to check in because it was just constant, or was that when I was working undercover So yeah, that is to answer your question. That is very important. I did everything I could to text her, to have some type of contact, let her know that, listen, over the next 12 hours, you may not be able to reach me because of X, Y, Z. When we would go out and do narcotics buys, and we had different operations, all night long. You didn't have a chance to get on the phone. I mean, you were, if you were on surveillance, if you were actually, part of the takedown team, part of the operation, whatever, or the actual UC. Yeah. So she understood it and she got it. She didn't like it, but that was part of the job.
Yeah.
So Rafa, the other thing now that I found that you've been in CBS Univision as far as the Latin community as well. So you've been pretty much well known in Florida, and at the same time being with a high, I say third tier level of law enforcement capabilities, training with people really don't understand the mindset, as you stated, checking in with your family and your focus. You're gone for about 13, 14, you said 18 hours. And people don't understand when you're at that point of high visibility, high intensity, you have to be focused. You can't be distracted for any minute, any second, because you're responsible for the assignment. You're responsible for the completion. And there's a brief and a debrief of anything that can happen. Correct?
Yeah, without a doubt. So you're looking at, what we say is typically this, the job is 99% boredom and 1% sheer terror. That's just anything can pop off at any given moment. You go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in no time whatsoever. And, that's one of the things where, when you have law enforcement officers retire and they die within 5 years of heart attacks. Why? Because, they're not getting that adrenaline dump, and they try to go to the, to a nice, relaxed atmosphere instead of, staying on the grind and doing things. They try to relax and they don't get those dopamine dumps as often. So on the job, man, it can go from 0 to 100. And I was on another podcast earlier with a young 15-year-old, so an entire group of these young men. They were asking questions, and I was telling them stories about all the things that I've seen and I've experienced, and gun battles and car chases, babies dying in my arms, people jumping from 25-story buildings, shooting themselves. I could name a gazillion different. But one thing that stayed true to this was the fact that I knew that I had my home and I was going home to my wife and my kids, and that mindset stayed, man, strong. Okay, I wasn't going to die on the job. Okay, no way in hell. My focus was to do everything I could to stay safe, to do the right thing tactically, because I knew I had a wife and kids at home, and that just keeps me going.
Wow. So let's get into this. A man of war.
He's been dying to ask
was,
you that.
Yeah, man. I saw this post, and I was telling you this before we even started. I saw this post, and Haram posted, and I saw it. And I was just like, damn, man, what is this shit? And I look at it, and I'm just like, it's like a boot camp. And then today I learned, no, it's not a boot camp. It's an experience, right? Because I watched a documentary today, and I noticed this commonality. The commonality is it doesn't matter, right, about your physicality. What matters is your mindset. I kept hearing you say that in this documentary. I kept hearing the brothers saying that in this documentary. Is that why you started Man of War?
Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is this: mind over matter. A lot of times, we've had men, and don't get me wrong, look, if you're in great physical condition and you are great mentally, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, you'll do well getting through this. It's not going to be easy, but you'll do well. The way that we have scientifically created this, Man of War crucible is specifically to break a man down, and to break them down first and foremost mentally. Okay, then we're going to rip their soul from them. And that's our goal, to rip their soul from them so they can rise renewed, right? Reborn with that energy back, man. That is a most important element that we can give you. Now, what we do differently, we don't take things and we use a lot of people get confused, like this is a boot camp, this is not a seminar. No, this is a true rite of passage. Right, which we don't have in our society now, a rite of passage that gets you into the Men of War society, which means that the men that go through this program, their goal is to get into the brotherhood. All right. So when we look at this, the goal for us as coaches and building this and our philosophy, we're taking principles, we're taking strategies, training philosophies from the Knights Templar, from the Spartans, and from the Samurai. Okay, and we're using that, and we're literally embedding. So a lot of what you see that may look like these guys are, rucking, whatever. There is a lot more to that. We don't really film a lot of the confidence challenges that are really, I don't want to say kind of medievalish or archaic, but man, do they work. Okay, very, very powerful. So, I think that some of these, so some of these men that go in there that think it's going to be like a Spartan race or something like that, with all due respect to Spartan, which is great. Yeah, this is not that. This is something very, very different. You have to be ready, mind, body, spirit on this one.
So Rafa, I checked out a couple of videos. People were asking me, especially on LinkedIn. We go back when I met with Tony, and we were just getting to know each other just a couple of years ago. And then just say, I was intrigued by the standards of what you've created, the ethos of Man of War, and what was the culture. Then I had high-powered CEOs, executives say, hey, Hiram, what is this? Is this just like the Marine Corps? They're looking at me as a drill instructor, right? Because I was a drill instructor. And I said, look, it's more than that. It's higher than Sears School. It's something that, first of all, I'm not going to disclose the secrets of this community because out of respect, that is not my lane. And if you want to experience it, take up the challenge and put some skin in the game and reach out and call yourself out and experience. And that way, when you actually do graduate, you have a moment of testimony and clarity that you can share with Rafa and the team. And I'm sure that you've done that. I've seen guys go in combatives. I've seen guys do the logs. I've seen guys do in the swamps. So, it works. That's what I could tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it does work, and, people, constantly say, well, can you really break a man down in 5 days? I've done 6 months of boot camp. I've done this and that. You know what I'm saying? Look, let me tell you, I don't need 5 days. I can break a man down in 24 hours. Okay. Put him in the right environment around the right individuals. All right. Because it's scientific, man. We know already going into group 9, we've done this now 8 times, and going into group 9, we already know the entire flow of how they're going to start reacting, acting, moving, questioning. And one of the most important things that I want to say here is that this Man of War Crucible, what it is a true mirror of who you are, who you really are in life. It brings out all the crap. Okay. It pulls out all the crap from within you, all the lies, everything that you've ever lied to yourself about it, that you're hiding from someone, it brings it out. We have men, you know, constantly cry, break down, you know, they hug each other. There's such a strong camaraderie, and it goes just beyond getting through each element. It's more about, wow, they're starting to find their purpose. They're starting to find their soul. I mean, for me, it's been an honor. It's been just an unbelievable experience. Every time we go to the crucibles, and myself and my coaches, oh man, you know, it's an experience for us. It's a journey.
Oh yeah, your instructors, man, they don't play around. I've seen them. They say, like, you suck it up. I'm having flashbacks like I've been in the drill field. But here's the thing: it's like you're watching them, you're facilitating. The instructors are going after them. I'm hearing guys wailing. I'm hearing guys just checking each other. And the thing about it is that people don't understand, especially alpha males that think they're alpha males. When you put them in an environment like that, you break it down. It's not about you. It's about the mission. It's about the team. It's about what kind of lies have you been perpetuating to people that you foster relationships, that now that you get called out in this environment, and then you get your ass humbled. Correct?
Love it. Absolutely. You know, one of the things that, you know, about 35% of our guys are combat vets. All right, you know, guys are in there. They represent every branch of the military. We got,
is that the cadre?
No, that is our society. The guys that go through this. Okay. Our cadre, you know, most of the guys are military or law enforcement, you know, federal agents, SWAT commanders. We have a tremendous list of credentials for the cadre. What I started doing initially with my first two, I brought outside contractors in. But once I realized that, you know what, there's nothing better than to bring these coaches from within, men who are bought into the culture, men who are really living this Man of War philosophy. And man, I got to tell you that it's been phenomenal. The coaches that we have now, these are my black shirts. They're the guardians of this society. And, you know, I'm just honored to have them. I respect them tremendously. They are my confidants, man.
So, Rafa, here's another question that you probably can publicly address. I've had quite a few women that say, can women join this, you know, culture? I'm going to let you speak on that.
Yeah. So I've had women almost every day. Hey, is there's going to be a woman of war? There's going to be a woman of war. Well, there's the deal. There's a lot to having a woman's program. It's not as easy as just setting something up and then doing the same thing as men. It's just not conducive. There's a lot of difference between putting a man through this and putting a woman through this. And why I say that is because men in general, what we have found, 98% of men, and yes, I have a number, and based on over 10,000 men that we have spoken to be completely, let me give you exactly, I'm going to give you a statistic. Ready? 9,347 men that we have spoken to since Man of War came to fruition for the Crucible. 98.4% of those men have lied in their lives, have lied to us, have lied, have been dishonorable in one way or another. They have just done things that are completely without honor, right? And to me, it kind of falls in place with everything else that I've done in my life, traveling overseas and teaching and all that. 98% is a very good number. So I say, look, 98% of men are liars. They lie about constantly, lie to themselves, lie to their wives, lie to their, their loved ones or friends or colleagues or employees or whatever. They're constantly lying. They live in this world of lie. Women don't do that as often. Okay. The study that I did in about 2016, women, because we were going to start a program that was going to be conducive for that. Women don't they're not nearly as bad as men, not even close. Okay. So what we started to see in the police academy was that women were coming in and they were actually stronger than men in many aspects.
Yep.
All right. We started to see that. Right. And we started to see that, wait a minute, hold on here. What's going on? Men were losing ground. The women came in with almost a more, stronger head on their shoulders. They had more fighting spirit than men did. And you're like, wait a minute, hold on. So to answer your question about women of war, I don't think women are in need of it as much as men are in our society right now. So I don't see in the near future, maybe, but right now my focus is just men.
That's a good tie-in to the next question. I got a couple questions on LinkedIn and Facebook, and the majority of the questions are, how does this help men? The yelling and the screaming, the whole breaking down of them. How does this help them?
Oh man, it's a life changer. You see, the difference between what we can do and what the military can do or law enforcement academies, we're not tied into SOPs or policies or protocols. We could adapt and do whatever the hell we want to do. Okay. So what we do is we make sure that we adapt for everyone. We make sure that if this guy, if man A and man B need an ass kicking and they need it harder than man C does, okay, we're going to go and hunt that guy down. We're going to break him down. There's without giving too much away, there's a certain element in our crucible that we break men down by, we call it breaking the wild horse. So what we do is basically, we go after the biggest guy, and we put him in a position where I can't give it away, but believe me, we humble their ass very, very quick.
I love it. What about safety? What are your numbers like as far as safety?
Listen, we have in those grounds, we have a special forces medic, okay, that is there, and at our call at any time. All of our guys are trained, and we have actually a couple of paramedics in the cadre. Also, we have another EMT that's in the area. Okay. So we are, when it comes to safety, we use a lot of things that we've done this so many times now that we know what, where we can push, where we can't push. All right. The rivers get very, very angry. They get very fast paced. Snakes and things like that. That's part of nature, man. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That's part of nature. But as we, go through this, all our cadres are trained, every one of them. We know what to look for. We're looking constantly to make sure that every person there gets pushed to their max. But, we have safety protocols. If we do that very well. Nobody has ever died or gotten severely hurt in our program. I mean, we have, ligaments, bruises, scrapes, but more than all, what we do is we have broken egos.
Oh,
I love the fact that you take safety before precaution. So can you unpack the first time you did the crucible, and what was your defining moment as facilitating the crucible, not only for yourself and for your team?
That's a great question, Hiram, because the first time we did the crucible was almost like a beta, right? It was almost like, oh man, everything there was, it was new to us. We were trying to figure out, we had everything structured, but we really wanted to see how these men acted and responded to the stimulus that we were giving them. So needless to say, the turning point there for us to continue doing this crucible was the fact that that these men, when they graduated from here, we felt like, wow, they really got something very powerful out of it. With that said, okay, there's a caveat to that. We didn't start really, really, really locking things down until group 3. After group 2, when we had everything pretty much, our vetting process by selecting the caliber of individual, the way that we processed the crucible, the elements that we brought in, how we managed it, how we structured time. Group 3 was the breakout out of all of them. That was our defining group where everything started to fall into place. And then from there on, our caliber of individual that comes through, the way that the crucible is presented, it's at this point, it operates beautifully, man. We are spot on, and we are an all go across all facets.
So I noticed that Group 3 was pretty much the signature group for your crucible, because
Yes.
there was some hardcore individuals. They just united. I mean, I saw a clip of it that they just went all out. They went all out. They sold themselves to that, and I believe that catapulted to you where you're at today. Correct?
Yes. The Group 3 we had, from my recollection, man, we there was like 3-4 guys drop out like within, half a day into it. It was by far, it's still to this day, the most difficult crucible that we have ever put on because of the environment. It was 28-degree weather outside. Everything was flooded. The entire compound was flooded up to 8 to 9 feet. So they had to get to their cabins literally in canoes. It was, and all of our training, man, we were wet the entire 5 days. It was nasty. These guys were right on the verge of what do you call it when you're really cold? Hypothermia. Yeah, hypothermia. Shivering, lips white. I mean, it was a borderline getting there. So, by far and away, this Group 3 was the most difficult crucible that we've ever had.
I saw Group 4. I think that's what I was watching, and you got a quote in it. It was pretty badass. I think you pulled up, and the guys are kind of in the gaggle fuck, and you go, "Who the fuck is the team leader?" I was just like, "Whoa!" But you could tell that they were kind of moving around like, "Oh shit, here it comes." How important is that establishing that type of leadership?
Oh man, I mean, look, one thing we know is this, okay? Our cadre is prepared because we understand we're dealing with grown men, and a lot of these men are CEOs, they're leaders from companies, they're the alpha male, they're the big boy dog, you know what I'm saying, in their world. So to go into this program and then to talk to them in a certain way and to address them in a certain way, you have to assert your authority immediately, okay? And our coaches are all trained, we've had guys snap back, they go nuts. Okay. We don't really film all of that, but you have no idea the intensity, okay, of some of these situations that we've been in. The bottom line is that coaches, everybody trains to take guys down, to detain them in case they snap or whatever it is. But to answer your question here, Tony, man, to assert that leadership, you have to, since the second you get there, you have to assert that authority because they got to play by your rules to get into this men of war society. Some guys they can't take it. They lose complete sight of where they are and they start getting anxiety, confusion. So, and this is why we get dropouts from time to time. It's overwhelming the amount of intensity that we put them through.
Wow, the attrition rate is pretty low, right?
35% dropout rate.
Holy shit!
So Rafa, here's another question for you, right? For these gentlemen that are looking and these CEOs, because they always question themselves. When you have an individual that quits, theoretically, as we said, they ring that bell, they quit. What do they say to themselves, or what do they say to you that they do the best convincing to give you many reasons, but but no too many excuses, right? Results. Let's say you got too many reasons, but not enough results. So unpack that for us.
Oh no, yeah, no doubt. Look, when somebody quits the crucible, we give their squad leader an opportunity. They get 60 seconds. Okay. And that means that before they walk up to the coaches to tell them, hey, man, you know what? I'm out. The squad leader can intervene, and they get 60 seconds. If we see that, they get 60 seconds to turn his mind around immediately. Now, with that said, we have a ribbon pulling ceremony, and they must pull that ribbon once they're gone, and they don't get to just walk away. And some guys have tried to do that, but we don't do that. They have to pull the ribbon so they understand what is happening. Now, the excuses that we get: I forgot my diabetes medication. My new injury or old injury kind of resurfaced. I just can't take it anymore. It's too much for me. So that's the constant, baloney excuse that we get across the board. A lot of times we also get, the typical excuse of, wow, this is just, way more than I expected, and I'm just not ready mentally or physically for it. Those are the guys that are being completely honest, so that's kind of like the excuses that people make.
So do they get their money back when they quit?
No, absolutely not. We don't that doesn't work that way. We make sure that everybody is formed out, that, because basically we are, their food costs money, the cabin costs money, the compound, the transportation. I mean, we have invested. Oh yeah. Everything's we have a huge investment on every person. So, the funny thing is this, man, we call it the dirty 30, right? The dirty 30 is when we are within the 30-day window, okay, of going, boots on ground with that group. We already know that we may have a certain amount, and we're going to discount 4 or 5, because guys are going to start making up bullshit excuses, constantly about, whoa, you know what? I got hurt, or I can't tell you how many fathers and mothers died within that 30-day window of men saying, hey, my grandmother, my father, and that it's just baloney. So, it's frustrating, but we understand it, and, we move forward, and we are growing, thank goodness.
Pull the ribbon. I remember when we're still trying to get used to each other. It's our 5th episode, man. We're
doing great.
We're two Marines. Who's going to shoot
great.
first, motherfucker? But the pull the ribbon ceremony, it reminds me of he's going to kill me when I tell this story, but he was playing football, and we have been working out like all freaking summer. Dude got jacked. When I thought he had veins in his arm, he's ready to go. Right. High school starts, and he's like, oh shit, those coaches, they wasn't fucking around. So he's like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this shit no more, man. I got a bunch. Right. He's a good looking kid, way more good looking than me, man. He's like, I got girls, man. I don't want to put up with this shit. I'm quitting. And I just said, what? You quitting? I look in the back. I see his cleats and everything in the back. And I said, if you want to quit, you go in there and you tell your coach, I'm quitting on the team. I can bench fucking 200 something. I'm fast. I can get people to come to the school. I'm popular and all of this shit, all these attributes. You go and you tell them that you're dropping these attributes, and they're no longer going to have access to them. He went in the door. I called my wife, and I'm like, I pray to God that he does not quit. I pray to God that he does not quit. He comes back out. Fucking, he has his cleats and everything in his hand, man. I started crying because I'm like, yes. And make a long story short, he finished the season. How important is that pulling the ribbon ceremony?
Yeah, that's our core, man, because without giving too much away, those ribbons are created in a way that is very spiritual, very connected. So each man knows it when they get that. And they know that you drop out, you're giving that shit back to me. You're not taking that home with you. That is their blood, their soul throughout the 5 days. So it is extremely important. When they put the ribbon and the guide on, they when they slide that up there, they know very well that what that's about.
So Rafa, let me ask you, the people that have quit, I know how many of them try to be a retread and try to come back to the
Well, yeah, we've had 3 retreads. and they've failed miserably the second time around.
Wow. Why is that? Why is
Because
that?
their souls were taken.
You know what? I wish I could answer that. You know, we're always, you know, we don't really give. The only time we let people retread is if they quit within the first day. We don't want them, because after that we don't. You know, that's too much knowledge that they have going in. So if they quit by the morning of the second day, they're good to go, and we give them an opportunity to come back. But I will tell you that the ones that have come back have not fared well at all. At all. I couldn't answer that question. Why?
Another question for you. Since your program has been pretty much getting a lot of traction, do you find it being on a series or something like, let's say a producer came up to you and say, hey, or Univision or CBS say, we like what you've done. You've been able to be a sensation on social media. You were one of the first pioneers, to be quite exact, since 2015. And there's been other programs that did their best to duplicate what you're doing, but you've been the pioneer. So what has happened during that time, and where are you at right now with that?
Okay, so we have, you know, as far as competition, look, we have a few competitors within the industry, but no one, and I mean no one, is doing it how we're doing it. And specifically, our protocols were very, very different than everybody. We really are. We're unique in our approach. We are all about, you know, building a brotherhood. We're all about living a certain life within the MOW, right? Within the Men of War Society, you know, we have programs. We have just a tremendous amount of connection between the brothers. Now, to answer your question, Hiram, we have had actually a producer had come to us for a Netflix program. Also, we're in discussions with a couple of different. I can't really talk about that too much, but we are in discussion with different producers. Now, for me, I got to tell you, I believe right now we are still at an infancy stage. We are still growing. I would really have to think hard about, you know, going and making some type of, you know, series. I know that there has been some, you know, few series out there that were, you know, networks had tried to do this or that, but we are extremely different from any of those. We're like just completely different. I will tell you this though, there is a tremendous amount of drama in these crucibles, tremendous amount. Like, you could definitely do some great shows out of this. Okay. We've had guys, you know, let's just put it this way, tremendous amount of drama, from beautiful drama, and then very hard, you know, very alpha drama, where you got to establish that pecking order. So yeah, there's been some great things. And so that would be something that I would have to think about in the future if I decided to you know, go forward with it and make sure that we represent the brand good. And, you know, when you hand that over to producers and you sell it to Netflix or you sell it to this or that, and the next thing you know, they're like completely just smashing your brand differently than what you wanted. So you got to be very careful with that.
I think what you got is beautiful, man. I was watching that thing today, like it was on Netflix. It's beautiful.
Thank you, brother.
I'm pretty sure you get a lot of comments, and this, I'm gonna read you a comment. And I want you to tell me what you think about this. Personally, I'm tired of all this macho shit. ... And we wonder why there's so much violence in the streets, movies, TVs, etc. What do you think about that? I already know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality that even that statement alone has zero weight to it. Okay, that's a reality. All right, men need to be men. Okay, that's the bottom line. And when you start talking about this concept of baloney, you know, toxic masculinity, whatever, that doesn't even exist. It's not even real. Okay, a man needs to be a man, and more than that, A man needs to step up. In my opinion, masculinity is one thing. Warriorhood is an entirely different thing. You can be a masculine man, okay, and, provide for your family, be a good father, be a good husband. But I want men to be more warrior-like. I want men to go out there and, be men who want to live for a higher purpose, men that want to lead their families, men who want to lead their businesses to scale, right? That have that fire in their gut to be better every single day of their lives. So when someone makes a comment like that, Tony, it just shows you that our society in general, how weak in mind they are. Look, you don't have to look that far, with this whole, mask mandate here and there, and our society is completely broken. And then you see the weakness in people. You see followers all over the place. You don't have to go that far, man. And I'm going to tell you how it is. When I see somebody with a mask by themselves driving in their vehicle, you already know. Okay. You already know. Okay. That person is a follower, that person, their mindset is weak, that they will follow.
What if they just forgot to take it off?
Well, in general, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. Well, in general, you see people just walking around, or I've seen people jogging around with masks on everywhere. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying, right? I mean, it's not realistic. And my point is that, listen, when you are conducive, when you let other people lead you in a way that, without doing the right research or without being someone that conducts good research, you're losing ground, man. And as men, as warriors, we need to do that. We need to step up and do our own research, make our own decisions, stop being, part of that sheep crowd where we're following everybody all the time without even knowing where the hell we're going.
Yeah. What about James? Why would I want to be broken in your cruise? That's a crazy question because I'll never forget when I went through the crucible, and I mean it edified so much, like, inside of me. It proved so much to me. I found out so much shit about myself I never would have known. Is that kind of the experience that you would want somebody to walk away with after leaving the man of war?
Yes. So listen, through one of my SWAT schools, when I finished that and I came out of there and I said, you know what, this experienced me. I was throwing up, freaking just, I had tremors the night after because it was just so intense. And I remember, going through that process and saying, you know what, every man really needs to put himself through trial and error, no matter what. To me, every man needs to, like you said, there's something, it edifies your spirit, your soul. I mean, it's like there's something powerful about being broken down and then rising, right? It's not so much about the breakdown itself. It's about the opportunity to rise after you're broken. As far as I'm concerned, if a man has not put himself in those conditions in his life, he is missing so much. So to answer that gentleman, okay, look, why would you want to be broken down? The question is this. I reverse that question. Why wouldn't you why wouldn't you want to be broken down and have the opportunity to rise, okay, from the ashes? How many times have you done that in your life?
So, Rafa, a lot of men question themselves. We have women that question themselves. They kind of support the men. Well, some men are built for that. Some people are not. But here's the biggest thing that we've talked about in this podcast. When we said leaders lead the podcast, everyone is built and designed to lead themselves or have a form of leadership within their DNA. You know it. I know it. Your family knows it. Tony's family knows it. But the biggest thing is when people come to you, they don't realize they have it in them. And it takes somebody of a subject matter expert to bring it out to them and collaborate, because you've seen the motive of operation of people that actually walk in. And then they challenge you, but their conscious doesn't realize what they're all about until you call them out. Correct?
Oh, man. That's phenomenal. Yes. Yeah, that is very correct. I mean, verbatim almost, where a lot of men hide. Okay. And until you call them out, their bull crap, then they start, the first reaction of a man when you call them out is like, hey man, who do you think you are? What are you doing? You don't know anything. But then when you start pressing them and pressing them and pressing them and you interrogate them to a point where you break them down mentally, spiritually, psychologically, then they start speaking from the heart.
Too much testosterone, not enough reasoning when it comes
exactly
to
right. Their testosterone, their ego gets in the way. It blindfolds them. But once, if I were to explain what this crucible does in the end, is it removes the blindfolds, right? And the person, the man that's going through this is able to see himself finally. It's able to really speak from the heart. And that in the end is what we want. We want a man to speak from the heart, to say what he feels, to see himself properly, to have confidence. And, like you said, Hiram, most men in general, when, they get a wake up call when they get called out. And this is what I'm a big fan of accountability. I'm a big fan of, man surrounding himself with other men who are going to hold him accountable for his actions.
So one more question for you. How many of the men have gone from beta to alpha, and how many have told you that they've had a midlife crisis coming to this challenge to you?
All right. So, that's another misunderstanding. Guys think that this is just for middle-aged guys. Our youngest guy is 21 years old. He just graduated last class. This guy has been an unbelievable individual. He basically said, you know what? He came overweight. He's lost 50 pounds over the last couple of months, changed his life around. What a young trooper, a heart of a lion. Our oldest guy that we had graduate was 62 years old, heart of a lion. Okay. Same thing goes with that. So, we when we look at age, we look at ages and we're saying, well, from 21 all the way to 62. So it's a tremendous amount of age. And when you have a 21-year-old working with a 62-year-old, oh man, that's just a incredible chemistry. Because just so much power. Now, when we talk about, and this is something, Hiram, that I believe that, you're spot on, and your question is spot on is, look, when men come here, okay, and they're looking to grow from an environment like this, the most important thing that we can give them, okay, is guidance as coaches, as, part of the cadre. And we could lead them, right, to the water source, right, like a horse. We could lead them there. But in the end, if they're not willing to go and drink that water and be there every day and put out effort, they're not going to make it through, and they're going to fall apart. So, this is where we stand in our society now with men.
Yeah. All right. One more question, brother. One more question. I noticed at the end, at the ring ceremony, you were given all the newly minted brothers of Man and War hugs. How important, and I asked this because you seem like a really serious and tough guy, right? How is it important to give other men or just people those affirmations?
Love it, man. It is the most powerful experience. It's like you just break down, you let everything out. It's so, it's you connect in such a way, such a deep manner that is, you got tears in your eyes. There's just a power behind it to know that these men are there. They believe in the process. They hung in there through hell and high water. And at this time, it is about connecting with one another, hugging, and that affirmation is everything. Is in the end is everything that we're about in the Crucible.
Wow, thank you.
So I have two things for you. Two things. One, I'm going to ask one more question to Rafa, and then I have a closing one for a Veterans Ranch that's been asking me to put an announcement there for them because of the number 22. So Rafa, yes. As we got to know you for the past hour, I want to really appreciate you spending time, blocking out your busy time, your schedule to have a one-on-one candid conversation with us. Now, going back at this point in your life, if you could speak to the younger version of Rafa, what would you say to Rafa then that would help Rafa be more successful than what he is today?
Never, ever, okay, destroy relationships based on your ego. Ever. Right. To me, what I would say to my younger self is as simple as, stop, speak from the heart. I mean, that's everything to me. I learned that in the mid-20s when I let my ego get the best of me as a Wall Street broker. And if I would have let my ego go and just cared a little more, loved a little more, man, my life at my younger age anyways would have been a little bit different, without a doubt. So I would say check your ego, love, and live.
Great response. So to the gentleman, J.R. Smith, real quick there, Tony, he's been reaching out to me. I just wanted to put an announcement. So I'm a veteran, United States Marine Corps veteran, and I'm a board advisor for the Veterans Ranch. And they work with first responders and veterans and their families through horse therapy. They've come through a new venture and provide them with some kind of coping skills that would help them grow and expand their needs to support this nonprofit. The veterans today need some kind of commitment to avoid the suicide and the mission of getting the number down to 22. We're asking everyone to reach out to the veteransranch.org to hit and donate and pledge for the month of $22. Normally, I don't do that, but when we're talking about suicide, when we're talking about veterans, and we've talked about this, Rafa, it's like sometimes you have to give the exception to give the platform, because as we all well know, this is probably the only platform that doesn't control us as far as commercials. So I appreciate it. Go ahead.
Awesome.
Thank you. We really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us, man. Dude, that was good. That was really good. I definitely think hopefully we'll have some people signing up for your group. When is the next time that you're going to have one as we close?
We are let's see, we're booked up for August and November, but we are taking applications now for January 2022. Okay.
And what's the website?
It's Men of War with a E. So it's menofwarcrucible.com. And you can go there and you could pretty much learn our story and sign up.
So we're going to have you back, Rafa. We're going to have you back. We're going to.
Thank you.
I believe that we need you to come back for the beginning somewhere of 2022 and really unpack that your situation, your version of how the pandemic has affected the mindset of individuals and how they've come to your crucible and able to share and expand on that. I have somebody that wants to post that URL for Rafa. Somebody wanted that website for you. So really, Rafa, we just want you to come back again. We're going to
anytime, guys.
You. We'll make that do. We love your family. I do. I love your family. Your son's
Thank you,
great.
guys. Thank you, guys. And I'll reach out to you soon. I want to have a round table of veterans and good guys in a podcast that I want to put up over the next maybe month or so we can get together, maybe 4 or 5 guys and just talk. So I think you guys will be great for that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Will you hang out for us for a sec?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, man, that was good. That was good stuff, man. We got a lot of good comments, a lot of good engagement. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Man, that was super good. Love the comments. I know this subject ruffled a lot of feathers. I don't know. I think that was the point. Point. Sometimes you're going to get leadership and it's going to be fed to you a little bit different. And this definitely was different, not for us, obviously, but for some. Any closing thoughts around?
So look, a lot of people are just challenging us, saying, why are we doing this crazy stuff? The problem is that we're doing something different than anybody else. Don't hate the player, hate the game. If you have a skill, if you have a skill set that you can do it, by all means, there's plenty of success for everyone. But here's an individual that took the time out that I've followed seriously for the last 4 years, and he took the time out. And I'm going to tell you that he ruffled the feathers, but I understood the mentality. I got to the point where he was understanding how many other people can actually see that. And we're going to have more things for more people because we're going to have more guests with bigger surprises. That's all I can tell you.
I love it, man. I love it. You got mad there for a second.
I am going to get mad when anybody talks trash. I mean, we started this up together, right? And for somebody that's going to be a troll and say, I'm tired of this man shit. Well, you're doing man shit. You're doing the stupid man shit yourself. So man shit yourself. You know, everybody wonders why I don't smile. I mean, I was smiling more with Rafa because I could relate to him. So I get that. So
I saw that grin. You're like, fuck, dude. You're like man crushing over there. Hey, bring Rafa's a good dude, man. He's a good dude.
Bring him back in there.
He's a good dude. We're getting ready to get kicked off. We got to go.
Okay, let's bring him up real quick. Okay, Rafa, we got to get kicked off. But hey, we talked a lot of good stuff about you. So what you got, man? What did you get out of the podcast, real quick?
Hey, man, listen, your podcast definitely is. I love the fact that it's unique. You guys have a great chemistry between one another.
He's fishing for compliments, Rafa.
Yeah, you guys did very well, man. Look, the bottom line is the fact that you're getting traction, the fact that you guys are, look, you have your own personality, Tony, and you have your own Hiram, but you guys blend so good together. I love it. I think what you're doing is you're kicking ass. You're doing a podcast that basically a lot of people don't want to do. You guys are willing to ruffle feathers. You guys are willing to put it out there and say it how it is. And that to me is very honorable for sure.
Right,
thank you, brother.
I want to get Alex on the show. So if he's ready, I want to hear his version of mentoring by his father. So
Alex he's a good young man for sure. For the younger generation, he's a good young man. But I tell you, he has a different. The way he sees men nowadays is much different, especially that he's one of our leaders in the sales department here, and he speaks to so many men all the time. And it's just how can I say this, Hiram? He gets disillusioned, by men. He's like, men are not supposed to be like this. But I told him when I brought him on, I said, listen, you know what? You're going to realize right off the bat that there's a lot of weak men out there, a lot of weak men. So, that's why we are here.
He's next. Let him know he's next.
All right, brother.
They're loving you in the comics, man. Oh, man.
Hopefully we can do one with the Instagram because we can't do the Instagram part of it. But if we can work the next time and see if we can work something and bring some traction with that'd be great.
Figure it out. All right.
Yeah, bro. Listen, let me know what you guys. I mean, I do lives on Instagram. I'm going to start doing lives also coming up more often, and I get a pretty solid traction on Instagram. So if you guys want to come on, bring you on for a few minutes, talk about your podcast or whatever, we'll do it. I'll get you guys exposure, nice exposure.
Let's do it. We got you recorded saying it too. No.
All right. Yeah. We got you,
brother. That's an amazing platform. I saw it, brother. We appreciate you. Thank you,
brother. All right. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate you. God bless to both of you. Okay.
All right. Let's drop a bomb for Rafa.
Yeah.